about it. I'll just, or I might think it and not say it. But either way, I have to work on things. Sometimes you're in traffic and somebody cut you off and the first thing come out of your mouth, you idiot. That's judging. Even though he might have been an idiot. But still, we have to be careful because it's so easy to run your mouth and judge people. So I'm trying to learn to just give everything to the Lord. Lord, you know, Lord, leave it alone. Then it says, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sins. Lord knows in these fleshly bodies we do this. We are messer uppers. Okay? If it's not even the external, it's the internal. But we still sin. All of us do. It says, and will heal their land. Okay? It says, now mine eyes shall be open and mine ears attent unto the prayer that is made in this place. He's talking about the house of God. Okay? For now have I chosen and sanctified this house, that my name may be there forever, and mine eyes and mine heart shall be there perpetually, which is forever. Okay? So we're going to keep it moving. Let's see, what is that? Second Chronicles. Okay. Excuse me, sometimes when you hear me mumbling, I'm just thinking out loud, reading sometimes and going over things and sometimes thinking out loud. So my apologies when I do that. Okay. But this thing commanded I them, saying, obey my voice, and I will be your God, and ye shall be my people. And walk ye in all the ways that I have commanded you, that it may be well unto you. If you just follow God, I'm going to tell you, if you just follow God, he will take just good care of you. Okay? It's so much scripture. I wish I could go over so much, but it's just so much scripture. I would be bouncing like a ball all over the place if I did not have some notes to keep me somewhat focused. Because it is just so much word. Okay, which I commanded your fathers in the day that I brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, from the iron furnace, saying, obey my voice and do them according to all that I command you, and ye shall be my people, and I will be your God. Just do what he says, and you're order. But you Israelites are still his people, even if you don't do what he says. If you do not do what God says, you're just gonna suffer, basically. If you want to be stiff-necked like your fathers, you're gonna end up like your fathers, getting beat down continually. So the choice will be up to you. Okay? Common sense should tell you, if everything's going wrong, then start trying the God of your fathers so that things will turn around and start going right. Okay? We're going to even read about that. It's just so much. So I'm going to try to stop saying what we're going to read about and just kind of get through as much as I can in the ways that I can. Okay? And I will give them an heart to know me, that I am the Lord, and they shall be my people. and I will be their God. For they shall return unto me with their whole heart. Return unto God with everything that you got. Because I'm going to tell you something. When going gets tough, you're going to call on him one of these days. You're going to call on him. I mean, I'd like to say I promise you that, but I don't have to promise you that because you're going to. We all have to call on God sometimes, especially when it comes to God's people. It's just in us to call on him. Okay? So, do yourself a favor and just get to know him. Because you're going to need him. If you are in this world, you're going to need him. I promise you that. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Lord, I will put my laws in their inward parts. That means nobody's going to have to even really teach you. He's going to put it within you. You know, I remember thinking one time, well, my goodness, you know, we're over here. We have lost our language, our culture. We've lost everything. So how possibly are we going to be able to get back on track? Well, now he's saying right here, I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts. And I will be their God, and they shall be my people. So if you're wondering how, don't worry about it. God already got it covered. He is going to make it where we're going to know what to do. And when you're saying, well, how's he going to do that? Well, how did we know how he was going to get us delivered out of Egypt? How did we know when God said, if you don't follow my laws, you're going to be scattered all over the nations? How did we know that that would happen? But guess what? Didn't it happen? Because let me ask you something. If it didn't happen, then what are you doing here in America? Okay, how did you get here? Do you recall? Do you have an ancestor that can tell you how you got here? 9 times out of 10, you got here on a ship. 9 times out of 10, your ancestors were carried here by ship. And that's how you got here. But you never could have figured it out, how God was going to scatter you all over the nations, could you? But God already, all he had to do was speak it. You know, just like when he spoke into existence light just started forming. When he spoke into existence, land appeared. Land just started forming. And guess what? How would you know what land was if it doesn't exist? How can you have known, okay, let's say for instance back in biblical times, if somebody said, give me a call, they'd have said, hey, no, by phone. What's a phone? Whoever back in biblical times could have comprehended a phone? Many things, many modern things today, light, a bath, a toilet, a sink, flowing water, electricity, and don't even talk about a car. Do you know they used to walk by foot? They used to have to ride on animals. Now you got vehicles there that'll carry you there so fast. And don't talk about an airplane. I mean, oh my goodness, modern technology, if a person were to come to this world back from biblical times, today's world will be overwhelming. But see, when we're born into this modernized society, all this stuff is introduced to us young. So we are brought up seeing these things on an everyday basis. But going back to biblical times when they lit a room up with a candle, when they had to saddle an animal to go somewhere, to throw a rug over an animal and ride an animal there. So understand, man, that when God speaks something, don't even think you can figure it out. But just know it will happen. It will come to pass. It says, for thou wilt separate them from among all the people of the earth. Now what did it just say? For thou shalt separate them. Separate his people from among all the people of the earth. to be thine inheritance, as thou hast, as thou spake by the hand of Moses thy servant, when thou boughtest our fathers out of Egypt, O Lord God. Okay? So he made it clear that he separated, for thou didst separate them from among all the people of the earth. Okay? To be thine inheritance. Enough said, but I'm not through yet. It is so many scriptures that makes it clearly evident that God has a chosen people. And it is so many scriptures too. I still have quite a few scriptures to go over, but the tape stopped on me, and I went through all these scriptures, not even aware that the tape had stopped on me. But God is worth redoing it as many times as he would have me to redo it. I am just a vessel of his will, trying to be in his will and in his way. It says, the ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. Crib is a house, of course. Most of us know that. But if you've had an animal long enough, he's going to know the owner. If you have a puppy dog, he's going to, and you and a stranger call him, he's going to go to the one he's familiar with. He's going to run to the one that is his owner. Especially if you're a good owner and you're good to your dog, your animals or whatever. He's going to come to you because he loves you. So it says the ox knows his owner, and the ass his master's crib. That means he knows where he lives. He knows where his master's house is. But Israel doeth not know. That means Israel today do not know who they are. My people doeth not consider. Okay? We have went through so much that we have to undergo what's called a mental, emotional, psychological, well, physical already took place. We were physically freed, but we're not mentally and emotionally freed. Okay? A lot has been removed out of the Israel's lives, and they're not understanding why so much is going on today, but we're going to get into that when we get into the curses. So I'm not going to continue that right now. I'm going to keep it moving before I get off track. And it's so easy for me to get off track. It's amazing. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err, and destroy the way of thy path. Okay, he's talking about his men Israelite people. See, we're living in a time where kids are disrespecting their parents. And my thought on that, which I'm going to try not to go too deep on that, if you have a child, a teenager 9 times out of 10, and even these young children, because the streets are really hard in some areas. And I have been very blessed where I was able to bring my children up in an area that was pretty quiet. You know, not much going on. But I know that there are a lot going on. As a matter of fact, I was just watching Boys in the Hood. And I had seen it years ago, but I didn't even remember the movie. But as I watched it, the mentality of our young people on the streets is extremely, the pressure is extremely intense. Because if you're too soft, you're bullied. But if you're too hard, you smoked. So where do you find that medium? People are out conning each other, getting over, using, scandal, all types of devious scandals are going on in the streets. And if you try to avoid the streets, they'll come at you. Like if you have to go to the store and they see you at the store, they'll harass you there. It's like trouble will follow you when you're in the hood. If you were raised in the hood, you pretty much know everybody. But then you have newcomers in other areas that are common areas, and it's these gang situations now, where we didn't have that when I was young, where they had groups, but they didn't have the gangs that they have like treacherously out there today that are really hard. And back when I was young, they fought. They physically fought one another. But today all they do is just, you don't even know how to fight. All you got to do is know how to point and shoot. So they really are wimps with guns. But whatever the case, the children today are under a lot of pressure. And then they are even taught by their peers to disrespect their parents. Now, parents, that's when I would let you know that when your kid start disrespecting you, he needs his own place. Or they have organizations that you can put him in if you cannot control him. And those places can be so strict on him that he'll be ready to come back home and do what you say. So put him in whatever those organizations, or Big Brother or boot camp, or I don't know what they are, but you need to get him the help that he needs. But my logic, if you possibly can, try to put him in a quieter climate where it's not really much to do. Out in the country, it's nothing but open land. It's not much really to do out there, but at least he'll live to become an adult. You got to make a choice. You can keep him in a high, stressful situation where it's a lot of activity going on, a lot of negative activity going on, and you could take the chances that he won't get smoked or shot or murdered. Or you can put him out in the country where there's nothing to do but nothing. And at least he'll make it to adulthood. Tough choices, okay? But you have to make them. As for my people, he's talking about his people, children are their oppressors. I mean, yes, children today are the parents' oppressors. And women rule over them. That means that the woman is the bread maker. She's making more money than the man that she's dating. Or the man that she's dating may be unemployed due to the fact that he dropped out of school or been incarcerated, or it could be a lot of different reasons. But this society, in my opinion, has put it that way to allow the woman to rise up and the man to be kept down underfoot, so that it would be hard for him to be a man in his own house, to be the man of his castle, to be the head of the house, which is how God ordained it to be. Well, it's hard for a man to come home and tell and be the man of his house when he's not even bringing in the bacon. He knows that at any given day he might get kicked out. You do anything silly, you can get the stepping, brother, because what? I'm the one who's doing everything. So this is definitely the Hebrew Israelites' life today. The children's are oppressing them. They don't know if their kids is going to make it to adulthood. And women are actually the ones who are running the house. And that's true even today. You have men living off of women. Deliberately, purposely living off of women. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err. The ones who you're following today, going to church on a Sunday, or leading you down a destructive road and destroy the way of thy paths. They are destroying the way that you should go with lies and deceit. They got you thinking that you're following right when you're following wrong. Okay, let me jump to this real quick. But this is the Hebrew Israelites, what they're going through today. That's how you know who the Hebrew Israelites are, by what what they're suffering. Matter of fact, I gotta do something real quick. Okay. Wait a minute, I lost my track. Okay. Back up to 12. Because when we get to identifying who the Hebrew Israelites are, this is going to be one identifiable mark right here. The Hebrew Israelites are clearly defined by what we just read. Okay? Clearly defined. Because we all know that it's a lot of pressure going on in the lives of the Hebrew Israelites. I will come back to this. But this is going to be one identifiable mark right here. Especially this one. The women rule over them. Okay? And my people, and O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err and destroy the way of thy paths. You're being highly deceived today. Not just in religion, but just in general. I mean, some people think that it's okay to mistreat a woman, and then when the woman leaves, they want to stalk and harass her to keep her a prisoner in his life. So understand that when you are out there with your homies, and your homies is telling you what you need to do with your woman, and you stupid enough to listen to your homies, because see, when that woman leaves you, the homie ain't gonna have nobody set up for you to get with. Okay? So if you got someone decent in your life, my advice to you is to recognize it and to be good to it. Because if you do not, you're going to wish you had when they leave. And if they're a strong woman, you're going to just be lost. You're just going to experience a loss, because she is not going to take you back. She's going to be a friend to you. She'll be nice to you. But she's not going to place herself back in harm's way. She's not going to get with somebody who's dead weight, a parasite, living off of her, which is what that scripture just stated, that women would have rule over their men, because you got men that are actually living off women today. And that's all that some of them want to do, is live off of women. So that is describing the Hebrew Israelites. Therefore, my people that are going into captivity, because they have no knowledge, that means you're not knowledgeable. And they're honorable, because at the time that they did go into captivity, they didn't know that they had broke God's covenant. Why? Because they didn't even know they were the covenant chosen people. They did not know who God was. They had forgotten God, and they didn't know who God was, and they had no knowledge. And their honorable men were famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. See, God made them, He made them the head, but once they forgot God. Therefore, my people are going to captivity because they have no knowledge. They don't know. We are over in America as a result of our ancestors not doing what they were instructed to do, and that was to not forget God, number one, to teach their children, number two, and to have no other gods period, number three. And we messed up in all those areas. Okay, but let me keep it moving, because I don't want to get off track. And I'm so easy to do that, it's amazing. Oh, I'm so easy to get off track. But at least I know it. I can admit it. Okay. Ye are my witnesses, saith the Lord, and my servant whom have chosen. Okay. You are my, I'm trying to figure out what did I just read. Ye are my witnesses, saith the Lord, and my servant whom have chosen, that ye may know and believe me and understand that I am he. Before me there was no God formed, neither shall there be after me. That means he is God. There is none other. Understand that. I just didn't understand where it says, and my servant whom have chosen. Whom I have chosen, maybe. Maybe that they left, it was a little typo there. Whom I have chosen. Or whom have chosen. And my servant whom have chosen. Okay, I think somebody, their editors missed a word maybe. Okay, but it says, and that ye may know and believe me. That you will know that God is real and believe, trust in him, and understand that I am he. Before me there was no God formed. There was no God that was formed before him. Neither shall there be after me. So that's amazing how God came into existence. He said there was no God formed before him, neither will there be any formed after him. That's something we can never know, because it isn't for us to know. God doesn't let us know everything. How he came to be, he's saying that he came to be, and that he is the only God and there is no other God, point blank. But he did not go into detail. He just stated that there was no other God before him and no other God after him. Okay. Okay, I had another scripture I needed to go to too. The beasts of the field shall honor me, the dragons and the owls, because I have given water in the wilderness and rivers in the desert, to give drink to my people, my chosen. Wow. It says, this people have I formed for myself. He formed us for himself. For himself. They shall show forth my praise. I do praise you, my Yah God, in Yahushua's name. To my Yah God be all the glory, because he is righteous and he is truth. He is right. He is good. He is a wonderful God, worthy of all praise. Our tongues couldn't even utter, I can't even comprehend to give him glory. It's so much that he does for us continually, every day. He is so good, keeping us from all dangers seen and unseen, from all dangers hurt and harm, keeping us in good health, keeping us in our right minds, blessing us to eat, blessing our lying down and our getting up and our going out and our coming in. Innumerable blessings. Blessings, I even pray for my seed throughout their generations. Most people say you can't do that. Well, in Matthew it tells me for all things, whatsoever I ask in prayer, believing I shall receive. I pray for my generation, and it's amazing how my kids will tell me, Mama, your prayers work. I know you praying for me. I say, yeah, I pray for you all the time. I pray for him to keep my seed, to keep me and my seed throughout all their generations. That means every seed from me passed down, on and on and on and on, God's hand is going to be upon. God's divine protection, his forgiveness, his mercy, his just everlasting loving kindness, all salvation, everything is just going to be passed down. And are they going to be perfect? No. Are they going to make mistakes? Yes. They're going to do things, and God is going to give them a spanking and get them back on track. So pray for your children. Pray for your seed throughout their generations. Because when you're long gone, that prayer is still going to be in existence. They're going to be like, wow, God is before me, and I'm not even trying. And I have a desire to go to be in his will and in his way, and to go and learn about him. And they'll involuntarily, just like breathing air. You don't think about breath. You breathe. Who out there can count how many breaths he takes in one day? Can any of us count how many breaths we've taken in one day? We don't think about breathing. We just do it. We involuntarily breathe. In and out, in and out. Even when we sleep, in and out, in and out. Do we think about it? No. So when you pray that God's will be as natural as the air that you breathe, you will naturally follow in his will and in his way without even trying. Because he will grant your petition. He will grant your request. And he will put his will within you to follow him. And you will do it naturally. It won't be burdensome. It won't be a trial. It won't be hard. It won't be a task. It won't be burdensome. It won't be like, oh, I loathe this. I hate this. No, it'll be a joy. It'll be glad. You'll be happy in the Lord. The things of him will draw you. And God will become your delight. That's just like when you do anything that you like. You might want to watch baseball or whatever, but like you like to watch baseball, you'll like to talk to God. You'll like to thank God. You'll like to want to learn and to grow in him. So when you pray with your face towards the pavement and you petition God from your heart, speak the impossibilities. Speak what cannot happen. Why? Because that's what God specializes in, his impossibilities. As in my previous video, when I got debris down within my lungs, that was an impossibility for God to lift off. The average person would have went to the hospital and had them do x-rays and all that to try to remove it. I went and talked to my Father, and he miraculously removed all that debris from my lungs as I was down praying. And there's been so many other times I've called on the Lord and he answered me. I remember one time it snowed. I was out, my kids were grown and gone, and I was out at the house by myself, and the snow came down heavily because I had after that gotten a snow blower, but I didn't have a snow blower at the time. And I prayed. I said, I opened up the garage door, and I saw all this snow, and I got a 2-car garage, and so I've got the oversized garage, so I'm having extra snow to have to worry about. And I raised up that door, and it had to be I'm wanting to say 2 feet. It was high. I was like, and so I got my shovel out thinking, okay, well, I'll just take my time with it. And when I dug into that snow and had to lift it and throw it, I just said, Lord, help me. And this was before I learned of his truths. See, just like when the Israelites was in Egypt, many of them cried out to God. They probably didn't even know his name. They probably didn't really know who he was. And a lot of them were exposed to the Egyptians' gods. But they knew somehow that God was there, that a God was there, that was their God, but they might not have been truly knowledgeable of who he was. But when they cried out, God heard and did what? Sent Moses in. Well, I cried out, even though I was following at the time a fictitious name, but he knew my heart sought him. In truth, I just was ignorant and didn't know how or who he was or how to call his name because I didn't know it. But I just said, Lord, help me. And do you know, no sooner than I said, Lord, help me, my two neighbors, the man and his son, came out and cleared my whole driveway. I mean, they cleared out my whole driveway. I went over there, walked across the street, and tried to help the other neighbor clear hers because she was coming out. But she didn't have nearly as much as I did because she had a husband there with her. But I was a single parent of my two kids with a house, and then I had 4 vehicles and a truck. And so, I mean, God blessed me with an overabundance of everything that I needed and desired. So I thank him. And I mean, even my daughter, she can attest to the fact that when the refrigerator seemed to be working funny, we linked it over after we pulled all the things out of it and cleaned it out. Then we turned it over to dust the bottom, to clean the bottom, and we couldn't lift it back up. We could not lift the refrigerator up. And I just said, Lord, help us. And do you know that refrigerator, as we touched it, it just miraculously, like it just was a feather, just lifted itself up. God will send angels before you to help you. And at this time, I still didn't know God's name. But God was looking at my heart, and he was saying, you know, this girl has a heart to try to do the right thing. She's not perfect, but she is diligent in trying. And my life has not been perfect before the Lord. I've not committed murder, like Moses killed an Egyptian to defend his brethren. I mean, I've not like committed murder, but I have, sinned. Even though my heart was sincere, sometimes you believe people and you trust and people deceive and mislead you. You got to know that when you fall, God is looking at your heart. He knows if you were sincere and that person was not or whatever. He knows the whole situation. But the thing is, he blessed me as a single parent of 2 kids to be living better than married couples who had 2 kids. I had more than married couples had. And I was single by myself. So, but people, and then on top of that, doing all my own work, doing my own landscaping in my yard, painting the interior and exterior of my home by myself and on my own. And people are like, how possibly do you do all of what you do? I told them, God. I said, God is good. He takes good care of me. And my neighbor, he told I threw I think some type of gathering or something, and I had some relatives come out, and I had one particular neighbor that, I lived in an area, I was the only black on my block, and I didn't know that at the time I moved in. I just moved in. Then I learned, but then there was one other black that was a block up or so, but and he and I were pretty cool, and then I was cool with whites as well, and so, but one particular neighbor, we were pretty cool. And so I invited them over, and then some of the other, of course, was racist and different things, would vandalize and do evil things while I was gone, and me and the kids were gone from the house. They would do little mean things, just ignorant people. But whatever the case, my neighbor told my mother before she had passed, he said, the people that lived here before she moved in couldn't get anything to grow. And then he said, but after she moved in, he said, everything started growing. I hadn't thought nothing of it. I didn't water anything or anything else. But I had a pear tree in the back. This little tree produced so many just big and juicy pears that I just told my neighbors, come over and get these pears. I mean, they were leaning my branches over. It was so many pears. And then, and my trees did. I had a apple and cranberry tree, and everything produced. It truly did. And so God will Like he said, when God is in your life, like you Hebrews, when God is in your life, you're going to know it. You're going to think about something that you desire, and he's going to give it to you. Because you're not going to think of bad things, not a Levite. A Levite, if you are a true Levite, you're going to naturally gravitate to God. You're going to gravitate to truth. You're going to gravitate, and he's going to put dreams in you, and he's going to put things in you. And you're going to know that God did this. You're going to know God. You know, you know God, and I need to talk with you you Israelites, because I'm going to talk about Israelites. And once I talk about Israelites, some of you are going to know, you're probably going to say, yep, that's been my life. Well, I need to talk with you, because you are a special people to God. God chose you, and it's possible that I could possibly be a Levite as well, because of some of the things that God has manifested in my life. Some of the things he has done in my life, to desire something and he granted, or to speak something and he do it, or to desire something and he gives it, or all the different things, the dreams. God you'll know who you are. So I would love to hear from some Levites, because we got a lot of work to do in drawing God's people back unto himself. Getting God's people back on track with their ancestors' God, not the God of their captivities, not the God of this land, which is the God of their ancestors' captivity, but with the God of their ancestors before they ever became captive slaves, shipped across the transatlantic slave trade situation, before that ever even occurred. Okay? We have to go back to our God, so that we can return to our own land, which is prophetic. We're going to talk about that as well. But we're going to talk about Levites. But first I want the Israels to know who they are. So I'm going to stick with this for right now. So it's going to take me a while to get through this, because it's so much. And I know that you know now, but I want to make sure that you're crystal clear. So I'm giving you enough scriptures so that you know that God has a chosen people, which we already know that because of what we've been reading, but I'm just making sure. And I'd like to hear from you Levites. Anybody who God is placing dreams, how do you spell Ezekiel? Okay. Oh. Okay. I guess we got it. But I definitely want to hear from the Levites. Okay? I'm going to have to get this website formed so that any Israelites who have any questions, I'm open to help a person with any questions. I don't care how dumb you might think it is. No question will ever be dumb to me. So I would love to hear any questions. And if I can't help you with the answer, then we can research the answer together. We can seek the answer. Okay? And I will give them one heart. And I will put a new spirit within you. And I will take the stony heart out of their flesh and will give them a heart of flesh. A lot of us do have stony hearts. You know, we're hard-hearted. But this world that we're living in today can make a tender-hearted child hard. It really can. Parents, don't lie to your kids. If you teach your kids not to lie to you, then don't you lie to them. Don't be a hypocrite. Don't say something stupid like, Do as I say, not as I do. Don't be idiotic with that. Because a kid mimics what he sees. Majority of the information that a child receives in his youth is what he sees his parents do. So if he's a visual creature, if the majority of what he absorbs in his being is what he sees, then you need to be an example to your children. Don't be a speaker. In other words, practice what you preach. Don't be telling them to be honest and you're lying. Don't be telling them to do things and you're not doing it. Or not to do something and you're doing it. Be an example to your children. Bring them up in truth. If you bring them up in truth, whenever you open their mouth, they will listen. But once they find out that you are a liar and that you wallow in deceit, your words aren't going to mean anything to them. And what's even more unfortunate about that is that they're not going to look to you for advice, for advisement. They're not going to look to you for any type of help. So now, where do you think, if they can't get the help from their own parents, where do you think they're going to go? They're going to go to the streets. And the streets are not going to be kind when they give them what they have to give them. They're going to say, hey, if you just try this, this will make you feel so good, you'll be floating. Next thing you know, you got a junkie on your hands. Why? Because you messed up. You, as a parent, a hypocrite, telling your kids to do something and they're watching you do it. I mean, telling your kids not to do something and they're watching you do it. Or telling your kids to do something and they're seeing that you're not even doing what you are telling them to do. Okay? They're going to lose confidence. One of the worstest things that you can do is keep disappointing a child. Because a child will harden his heart to protect himself. If he knows that I asked her to bring me home some food and she still came home with nothing, he's going to stop expecting you to bring home food and he's going to go out there and get it the best way he can. Or whatever. Okay? So, I mean, I'm trying to think of something, but I couldn't think of nothing, so I just used food as an example, but you know what I mean. I know you feed your kids, but whatever. If you tell them you're going to do something for them, follow through. If you tell them that they cannot do something, follow through. Whether it's for their benefit or not, if they want to go and do something, stick with whatever you say so that when your words are spoken, they know that you mean what you say. Okay? You've got to understand that you create your own problems down the road by how you raise your children. If you raise them up loosely, I mean, you don't want to be too tight on them. You don't want to keep the you don't want it too tight where you're suffocating them. But giving them communication is vitally important. But if they're going to communicate with you, then understand they're going to want to believe that what you're saying is the truth. So keep it real, okay? Don't bring them up to be hypocrites, telling them stuff that you know is not right or that's not real. And then later on in life, they do the same thing with their kids. Now you're cycling down a generation of Santa Claus traditional keeping people, which you know is a lie. Okay, so let's just keep it real. Okay, so it says, and I will give them one heart. Everybody will be on the same page. Everybody will understand and be on the same page. And will put a new spirit within you. And I will take away the stony heart out of their flesh. And I will give them the stony heart out of their flesh, and will give them an heart of flesh. That they may walk in my statutes and keep mine ordinances and do them. And they shall be my people, and I will be their God. That's a two-way street. We are his people, and he is our God. Okay? So, keep it moving. That the house of Israel may go, it was something that was stated before this, that the house of Israel may go no more astray from me, neither be polluted any more with all their transgressions, but that they may be my people, and that I may be their God, saith the Lord God. Okay? So he's basically making it clear that he has a people, a particular, a chosen, peculiar, particular people. And he is saying that he is their people, and okay. He is saying that they are his people and that he is their God. Okay. Thus shall they know that I am the